Jan Komski, a young Polish Catholic who was a graduate of the Academy of Fine Arts in Krakow, Poland, was arrested and sent to the German concentration camp Auschwitz, like many young men in the early months of World War II. Upon his arrest, as a member of the Polish resistance, he was carrying false identification papers under the assumed name Jan Baras. He was one of the first 756 inmates sent to the uncompleted concentration camp, which was the very first prisoner transport to arrive in Auschwitz. His prison number was 564. These early numbers were not tattooed on the prisoner's arms yet. He arrived in Auschwitz along with 727 other Polish men on June 14, 1940. At first, he painted the cruelties of camp life in secret. Later, to survive, he painted signs and other special requests of camp administrators, including portraits of German camp officials. Mr. Komski painted the day-to-day activities of the German concentration camp, which represents an eyewitness account of the horrors and provides documentation of the crimes. After 2.5 years in the camp, Jan Komski and 3 comrades, Mieczysław Januszewski, Bolesław Kuczbara, and Otto Kusel, participated in one of the most famous escapes in the history of that infamous camp. This escape was significant because it was among the first to be organized by the illegal camp resistance movement and with the help of the local population. On the morning of December 29, 1942, a 2-wheeled cart drawn by 2 horses passed the gate at Auschwitz. It carried Kuczbara dressed in a stolen SS uniform. Alongside walked 3 inmates, seemingly being escorted by the SS man. They aroused no suspicion, as Otto Kusel was known to all the block Führers, or the SS block commanders. When they reached the checkpoint at the border of the big sentry chain, Kuczbara showed the guards a cleverly forged pass. His uniform and the pass convinced them to allow the cart and the prisoners through. The men simply walked out of the camp. They made it to the village of Broszkowice, where they met a resistance woman who gave them civilian clothes. They spent the night at the home of Andrei Harat, who actually rented the apartment above them to an SS officer. Mr. Komski eventually reached the city of Krakow, where he was arrested in a routine roundup, as he was sitting on a train awaiting departure for Warsaw. At the time, he was carrying his newly forged papers under the name Józef Nosek. Any escaped prisoner would have been hanged very soon after his return to Auschwitz, but Komski was not recognized, and his identity papers now bore a different name. All the people arrested in the roundup were taken in trucks to the Montelupi prison, where they were unloaded and made to march through a gauntlet of guards. Komski was the last in line. Afraid he would be sent back to Auschwitz, where he would surely be recognized, he pushed 2 armed guards out of the way and bolted into the street. Many guards pursued, shouting and firing their rifles. Bullets whizzed by his head. One struck him in the ankle and he fell. The guards rushed up and started talking about killing him on the spot. They did not know that he understood German. Mr. Komski says he was certain he was going to die, and he saw his friends and family all flash before his eyes. A visual thinker, even in these circumstances, he even saw himself dead. But then one of the guards said they couldn't just shoot him in the street. They had to do it in the prison. They beat him, knocked him unconscious, and brought him inside the walls. Revived somehow, he heard them say they were taking him to the prison hospital instead. There, bloody and beaten, his wound was bandaged and never changed. Luckily, it did not become infected. 3 months later, his wound healed, he was sent to Auschwitz. Approaching the front gate, he was afraid of being recognized by the SS. One prisoner, actually an informer, did recognize him, but instead of turning him over to the SS, went to the prisoners who ran the office. Unbeknownst to him, those men were part of the camp resistance movement. They managed to cut orders sending Komski immediately to Auschwitz II, Birkenau, about 2 kilometers from Auschwitz I. There he was never recognized. This time he was given a new tattooed number, 152,884. Mr. Komski was eventually sent to Buchenwald concentration camp in Germany, then back to Krakow for interrogation, and then to another camp, Gross-Rosen. From there he was shipped to Sachsenhausen, and then finally Dachau. General Patton's boys liberated that camp on May 2, 1945. After the war, Mr. Komski immigrated to the USA, became a U.S. citizen, and worked for the Washington Post as an illustrator. At the age of 86, he still paints every day at his home in Arlington, Virginia.